In the previous lesson, we discussed automatic relations. Now in this lesson, we're going to take a look at how to manually add relations to a sketch. So let's begin. First, we need to go into a new sketch. So I'm going to select the sketch icon and then the front plane. Next, I'll select the line tool and I'll start my line at the origin. I'm going to pull that line straight up. And notice an automatic vertical relation is being applied. I left mouse click and we receive that automatic vertical relation. Pulling the cursor straight to the right, I receive another automatic relation, horizontal. And then down in this direction here, no automatic relations are being applied. And then an automatic vertical relation. And then back to the starting point, I receive both a horizontal automatic relation and a coincident relation. Now what is coincident? Coincident is when two pieces of geometry share the same point. Now what we have here is a simple sketch with 5 automatic relations. 2 horizontals, 2 verticals, and a coincident. Now let's say, for example, we have a need to move this point here to the left. So if I hold down the left mouse button, notice it does not stretch to the left. Simply up and down. The reason it doesn't stretch to the left is because of this automatic vertical relation. Now let's say we want to stretch this to the left, but we want to keep these two lines perpendicular to each other. Notice the automatic relations that were added does not do that for us. It keeps them perpendicular to one another, but it does not allow us to move this point to the left. So to correct that, sometimes it's necessary to delete the automatic relations, and we do that by selecting them and then tapping the delete key on the keyboard, and then manually adding relations as needed. So I want to add a perpendicular relation between these two lines here. First, you want to hold down the control key, select one line, and then select the other line. And notice the property manager appears. In the first window, it shows the geometry we selected. In the second window, if there were existing relations between those two lines, they would show up in this window here. And then right below this, here are some of the relations that we can add. Horizontal, vertical, collinear, perpendicular, parallel, equal, and fixed. Notice perpendicular is highlighted because the software is thinking this is the relation we want. And since it is, I am going to go ahead and select it. And notice the perpendicular relation is added to the screen along with this window here. So I'm going to close out of properties. And now notice when I hold down the left mouse button, I can drag the point to the left and those two lines remain perpendicular to one another. Another relation is equal. If I hold down the control key, I can make this line and this line equal to each other. And notice when I did that, I'm seeing 3 pieces of geometry, which is not correct. So I'm going to right mouse click and clear the selections. I'm going to hold down the control key again and reselect. And now I see the correct geometry in this window. Notice a perpendicular relation exists between those 2 pieces of geometry. And notice my relations, I can add an equal relation. So now these 2 lines will always be equal in length to one another. So as I move this around, notice they remain perpendicular and equal. That equal relation is very handy when you have several fillets in a sketch. You can make the fillets equal in size to one another. The same is true with circles. Now let's take a look at another method for manually adding relations. If you recall just a couple seconds ago, when I applied this perpendicular relation between these 2 lines, I selected each line while holding down the control key. I then did the same thing for the equal relation. Now let's take a look at another method, a little bit quicker, for applying relations manually. I'm going to first delete the equal relation. I'll select it and then tap the delete key on the keyboard and then do the same thing for the perpendicular relation. Now the shortcut is, if you have two entities that share a common point, you can select that common point, and in our pop-up menu, we can add the relation right from this menu. Let's go back and select that point again, apply the equal, and notice it does not require that you hold down the control key to select both pieces of geometry. So before we close out of this lesson, I'd like to summarize. When you first create a sketch, automatic relations are applied. Now sometimes it may be necessary to delete some of those automatic relations and manually add the relations you need. Or other times, all of the automatic relations work for you, but you still need additional relations on the sketch, and you can manually add them based on the steps that we just covered.